This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted, as always, to be joined by unified super lightweight champion of the world, Josh Taylor. We're here in Harlow. How are you, Josh? Been a while.
Yeah, good, Rob. It's been a long time. Nice to see you. Nice to see you still got your beard and that. So catching up with you slowly, but it's good to see you, mate. And yeah, so just chilling out and training really. Not much else to do. Not much else to do at this point in time. But yeah, I'm all good. How's yourself?
I'm very well, thanks, mate. Very well. Always a pleasure to come down and see you. Has been a little while. I think the last time I spoke to you was before you boxed Appin and Kong Song. So it's been a little bit of time now since I came down to see you at the gym. But you're looking very well. Thank you for lying and say that I do as well, because I don't. But that's why I'm on this side of the camera, not that side. Yeah, we are a few weeks away now from the undisputed fight, the big fight that we've all been looking forward to, but you more so than anybody. Nervous?
Nah, I'm not nervous. I'm super excited. You know, it's this is the jackpot for me. This is what I've always dreamed of, becoming unified world champion and then undisputed world champion. You know, I've wrote it on my pieces of paper for the last couple of years. You know, so this is the jackpot fight for me. It's massive, and I've landed a fight in Vegas as well. You know, it's a fight every fighter dreams of. You know, so I'm absolutely over the moon, and I'm just riding the wave and just going to soak all the atmosphere up and enjoy it and enjoy the ride. So yeah, I can't wait.
Admittedly, it wasn't in Vegas your debut, but you've kind of come full circle. You made your debut in America, and now you're fighting for the undisputed title in America. Could you have ever thought those years ago that you'd end up back in America, or was that something that was always on your mind?
Always dreamed of it, you know, but I never thought I'd be back in Vegas headlining a show for the undisputed world title. You know, if you had asked me back then, I'd say that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do and dream of doing. But did I really believe it would happen to me? And you know, in a massive fight like this, for the fight for all the belts in Vegas, my name up in the bright lights. Probably not. You know, they'll probably say, yeah, I'll be world champion 100%. I'm going to be world champion. And but if they'd said, you know, you're going to be fighting in Vegas for all these belts and to become the first undisputed champion in Britain in the 4-belt era, it's huge, massive.
Look like things are all kind of coming together for you now. Known you for a little while, and you know we briefly just spoke off camera about kind of the build up to the Victor Postal fight and all of the call it what it was, anxiety going into that fight, and then after that the Baronchik fight being your first world title fight, and then Prograis pay-per-view fight. But you seem like in a really good place now. You seem like settled. You're engaged to be married to your longtime girlfriend Danielle, and you've got an undisputed title fight. It seems like a pretty good time to be Josh Taylor.
Yeah, life's good. Everything's you know, coming into play. You know, we're nice and settled in our new house. You know, we're engaged. We're going to be married next year. I'm going to be undisputed world champion, and so I'll be taking all the belts with me down the aisle. I'll probably not take them off for a long time. But yeah, everything's good. Everyone's life is good and sweet. So I'm really happy where I am at the minute. You know, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, and yeah, it's been good. I mean, we spoke off camera there about, you know, the fights beforehand, the Postal fight, like putting pressure on myself to prove not only to myself, to everybody else that I'm world class, and then the Baranchek fight was my chance to get the world title. So I fought harder than what I should have, and could have pissed the fight easy, you know. So now I've proved to everybody that I'm one of the best fighters on the planet. I'm world class, so I'm just enjoying the ride now. I've achieved my goal of becoming world champion. Everything now is just, I'm enjoying the ride, and I've taken all the pressure off myself, and I'm enjoying it, Robert. I'm enjoying it.
How difficult?
You
did call me Robert, yeah, which is a new one.
That's the first one.
Yeah, it's a very much a new one, Joshua. But anyway, are you Joshua or Josh?
Definitely just Josh.
Okay, well, I'll call you Joshua just because you called me Robert. Only my mum and dad called me Robert. It was an interesting one. Actually, and Mark Tibbs also calls me Robert. Jose Ramirez, obviously, it's a fight that's kind of been looming in the background of your career for quite a few years now. You were both on the WBC route before you went into the World Boxing Super Series. How difficult a fight is this when you compare him to your Regis Prograis, your Evan Barancheks, your Victor Postals?
Well, I'll need to ask you. I'll need to tell you that on the 23rd, or after the fight. You know, it's impossible to say what it's like or what the fight's going to be like, you know, until after the fight. But I do believe that this fight can be a very clinical performance for me, and a very sort of like a coming out kind of party, and it can be a really, really classy, well operated fight, and I think you'll see the best of me coming out in this fight, you know. So I think I really can't see how I can lose this fight unless, you know, the inevitable, the obvious happens. I get hit with a good shot and, you know, I don't recover and, you know, I get hurt or whatever. But I really don't see that happening at all. And if that happens, he catches me a shot and I'm out, then that's the only way I think he can win that fight. Any other way, I've went over so many different scenarios and situations. I just can't see him beating me in any way, Robert. You know, that's me just said that again. But I just can't see him beating me in any way. I just feel this is the fight for me and the way I take this fight on. Don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be a tough fight and there's going to be tough phases in the fight and things like that. But I just can't see how he can beat me.
You're looking very well. You're looking in good nick, as you should, of course. A matter of weeks out from the biggest fight of your career. Talk to me about the kind of away from the boxing side. I know Ben Davison, obviously your trainer now, is very keen to, you know, he observes the pleasantry, so to speak, when it comes to nutrition and S&C and what have you. But you look very well. You look very strong. Talk to me about the kind of the developments and what you've added to your game.
Yeah, we've got I've got a whole team around me now. You know, I've got obviously Ben. Then I've got video analysis guy and Lee Wiley as well. So we break down what we're doing, not only the opponents, but what I'm doing and things I can work on. You know, I've got a nutritionist on board that's here living with me, giving me all my breakfast, lunch, dinner, my meals, my snacks, my vitamins, and all my goodies. You know, my supplements and stuff like that. Putting the right things in my body at the right time. You know, I've got a physio on board now as well. It comes down, you know, 3 days a week, and everything's just falling into place. I'm just making sure that all the controllables that I can control, I'm doing to the best of my ability and making sure that I've got no excuses, you know. So the only thing that's out of my control is, you know, what's happening in Vegas, where it's going to be and things like that. So I'm not even worrying about any of that. I'm just making sure I'm doing everything I can do and prepare to the best of my ability. And I've got a great team around me, people, and I just feel like everyone's just falling into place, and I'm really happy. Yeah, I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
You've been nice and active throughout your career. I think it's universally agreed that you're one of the best built fighters, certainly one of the best match fighters in Britain over the last decade or so. I know you haven't been active in that period of time, but in the last decade, you're certainly a good example of being match tough and, you know, boxing consistent, good opponents regularly. Having said that, you've only boxed less than a round since the Regis Prograis fight. Yeah. Any concerns about that?
None at all. You know, none at all. I don't really believe in ring rust, Rob. I got it right that time. I don't really believe in ring rust, you know, because if you're preparing right in the gym and you're getting good competitive sparring and regular sparring, that's all you need. You get all the ring rust out and your timing and your distance and sort of cobwebs out in sparring and good competitive sparring. So I don't believe in ring rust, you know. The last fight was a little bit alien because there was no fans and no crowd, and so that was alien for me, that experience. But this fight, there's going to be fans back in, so it's back to normal and back to big fans and big nights, and, you know, back to what I'm used to. So yeah, it's just I don't believe there'll be any ring rust or anything like that, any inactivity. I'm getting good sparring, I'm getting good preparation, so that's all I need.
Going back to Jose Ramirez, you do of course share a common opponent in Victor Postal. One of the kind of the seminal, most important fights in your career was the Victor Postal fight that you had in Glasgow. What did you make of Ramirez's performance against Postal when they boxed?
Oh, I wasn't impressed. You know, I only watched the fight once, but I scored the fight a draw. You know, it could have went either way. I thought Postal was very unfortunate not to get that decision, you know. Ran away with the first half of the fight, made Ramirez look silly, you know, just by basic boxing and just, you know, making him miss and look silly and over eager to hit Postal and things like that. So I wasn't impressed with what I saw, but, you know, that fight got postponed 3 times, you know, so I give a little bit of leeway, you know, for the performance, because they both had training camps, 3 training camps back to back, peaking 3 times, and that maybe could have a little bit of an effect. But that's the only reason and the only sort of half excuse I'm giving him for that performance. I wasn't too impressed with it at all.
A lot of people look at Jose Ramirez's style. He has that kind of all-action Mexican-American brawler, front foot, come forward, to seek and destroy, whatever you want to call it, style. Yeah. How do you win this fight? I mean, you're known as somebody who's been in great fights, action fights. Of Ivan Barancek, the Regis Prograis fight was fight of the year. Mm-hmm. How do you win this fight?
I can win this fight any way it goes. Any way it goes. If it's a firefight, I'm winning that. If it's a boxing fight, I'm definitely winning that. You know, any way it goes. Any way it goes, I'm winning that fight, unless I get caught with a big shot or a cut or something and the fight gets stopped. There's no way I'm losing this fight. Any way it goes, it's just it's my time to shine, and I really believe that. I really believe it. What anything that Ramirez throws at me, I'm more than ready for, and I know I've seen it before. You know, it's not going to give me something that I've not seen before, so I'm more than ready, whatever he brings.
We spoke in the past about kind of your tendency to get into those great fights, which for me as a boxing fan, first and foremost, I love to see. You love to see those wars. I know Ben Davison has been trying to implement a little bit of thought and a little bit of care into your work. Is that what we can expect to see, and certainly in patches against Ramirez?
I don't know. We'll see. Everybody seems to think I'm going to come out and run away, so maybe that's what we'll do. We'll maybe just do laps of the ring and make him miss and box him and do that kind of stuff. You know, we'll maybe do that. We'll maybe stand there in the middle and fight him and outfight him. We'll maybe just, you know, he thinks I'm going to come in and run away and he's going to overwhelm me and push me down. I think that's what he's banking on. But listen, I'm going into that fight, and you know I like a fight. If it goes that way, it's going that way. But I've got the intelligence and I've got adaptability about me that I can box any way. And I've showed it a number of times. I can adapt and change mid-fight, and I've done it mid-fight a couple of times. Change the way I'm fighting, the way I'm boxing, my tactics. I've done it a number of times. Has Ramirez done that? No, I don't. I've not seen him do anything different in all his fights that I've watched. It's the same thing over and over again. Come forward, try to overwhelm you, put pressure on you, and try and wear you down. That's it. That's it. That's all I see from him. So I think I know what to expect from him. If he comes out and boxes, he may as well give me the belts now. If he comes out and has a fight, then I think that's what I'm expecting him to do. So I'm ready for anything he brings, and I can't see why he can beat me.
How important is it that you remain focused, stick to a game plan? You mentioned the fact that he's going to want to draw you into a dogfight. You're obviously experienced in that. You just said there that you love a fight. But how important is it that you dictate when and where those pockets of action happen?
I will dictate the way this fight goes. I've got more to my game. I'm a more clever boxer than him. I've got more to my game. My boxing IQ, which I haven't used enough in my last couple of fights, but my boxing IQ is just unbelievable, you know. So I will dictate the way this fight goes. I'll dictate when I want to fight. I'll dictate when I want to box. I'll dictate when I want to push him back. And we'll see that on May 22nd. You know, it's we'll see a good performance. We'll see a good performance.
Well, I won't see because I'm not going to be there. Of course, I will watch from home, but unfortunately, I've not. I've been granted my visa waiver to get in, so you'll be with Andy Purrawell, who is Mr. Worldwide at the minute. He's actually in Miami this week for Andrade Williams. He'll be there. I'm sure he will enjoy the fight.
He'll be creaming in his pants.
Yeah, we'll keep the microphone in my hand for that one. Have you allowed yourself to think further ahead past this fight? I know inevitably you're going to want to, you're not going to look past Jose Ramirez, his biggest fight of your career, but coming through that, becoming undisputed champion, there's 147 pound. You've got all of those lightweights coming up from 135. There's some potential huge fights on the horizon.
Listen, there's always. I'm fully focused on Ramirez and not thinking anything else, but there's always a little bit, because you're always thinking on what you want to do next, and you're always setting new goals and new targets and this and that. So I know I'm going to win this fight. So I'm thinking, right, what's next? I've won all the belts. What else have I got left to prove at the weight? I've got the mandatory in Catterall. We could do that. But if something else comes my way and bigger and better, then we'll probably do that, or might go up to 147, chase for a bigger fight up there. Maybe some of the other fights, the lads, like you said, come up for lightweight as well, you know. So we just wait and see what comes my way, you know. I'm no, just take it as it comes, roll with the punches, you know. But I'm not thinking too much about it. But you do think, like, what's next once I win this fight? What the potential of what can be next is unbelievable, you know. But you give it a quick thought and then put it to the back of your mind again.
Out of those 135-pounders moving up, which one would you like to fight?
I'm not really fussed. I'll fight any one of them. Obviously, Lopez has been shouting his mouth and that out about things, and that he seems to be the one that will be coming up probably first. So if he wants a fight after it and everything's right, then we can go for that. Whatever, you know. So I'm not really bothered. I'm not thinking about it. They're not on my radar at the minute. I'm thinking of Ramirez and doing other things, you know. So Ramirez is on the front of my mind at all times at the minute, so I'm not thinking about Lopez. I'm sure he's got things that he has to take care of at lightweight, you know, Devin Haney and things like that, you know. So I think he would like to become undisputed champion at lightweight. He's already calling himself it, so he's got another belt to win, so he needs to do that first. So I'm not thinking of any of these guys. I'm just thinking about Ramirez and winning this fight and enjoying the life as a champ.
Before we move on, let's talk about Regis Prograis, your old mate. Of course, takes two to tango. He was involved in that fight with you at the O2 Arena. Fantastic fight, brilliant fight. He returns this weekend against Ivan Redkach on the Jake Paul Ben Askren undercard. Yeah. Just your thoughts, really, on the return of Regis Prograis and where you see his career potentially going.
Well, I don't know where it goes, you know. He's a good fighter, obviously. I've shared the ring with him. Yeah, it's a good comeback sort of fight for him. You know, the last guy he fought, he bowled over pretty easy. And I think he'll do that the same with this fight as well. Redkach is a featherweight, blown up featherweight, so he shouldn't have any problems at all. He's had a few hard fights at Redkach as well, so he's seasoned. He's a bit over the edge probably, so he should take care of him, no problem. And then he's sort of keeping himself active, so that's good.
Boxing on the Jake Paul undercard. What are your thoughts on that? We spoke about it in the past about kind of YouTube boxing. Not me, but just general YouTube boxing. What are your thoughts on that?
Not really got any thoughts, really. I mean, it is what it is. You know, it's Jake Paul's bringing in. Is it Jake Paul or Logan Paul? Jake Paul. He's bringing in big numbers, new audiences to the crowd, and new sets of eyes and new fans. So it's good in that way. The boxing's getting more exposure, but you know, and he'll be selling out that arena as well. So it makes sense why the promoters are putting him on the top of the bill. You know, because he's bringing in massive money and things like that, and it is a business. But you know, you don't want to be fighting on undercards to these guys. But you know, no disrespect to Prograis here, but he's no boxing for any titles or anything like that. Everybody knows he's going to walk over this guy, so it's not really a fight that the fans are going to come out in their numbers and be over eager to see, because he's going out to do a job and everybody expects him to get rid of this guy, and he will, I think. So boxing the undercard, so what? He's getting out, he's getting paid, and he's getting a good blowout. So yeah, all good.
Would you box on one of those undercards if the price was right?
If the price was right and everything's right, yeah, of course. You know, if especially if I never had any belts, you know, you've not really got a bargaining tool then, unless you're bringing in massive numbers at the gate and things like that, and the tickets, then you've got an argument there. But yeah, if everything's right, then why not? But I wouldn't be overly happy about it, but you know, it is what it is.
All right, before we move on, I was in the Lawrence Okoli Krzysztof Glowacki bubble a few weeks ago. I spoke to Shane McGuigan, of course, your ex-trainer. I know you would have seen the interview that I asked him about the Ramirez fight. He said that he believes that you'll win the fight. He wants you to win the fight. Yeah, just your thoughts on that, really, the interview.
Well, we spent a lot of time together, Shane and I, you know, and obviously Ramirez was on the radar before the Postal fight, so we both knew and we both thought that's a winnable fight. I don't think, just because we've parted ways, I don't think he's going to then change his mind just through bitterness or whatever like that. You know, he's not going to be like that. So he knows the ability that I've got and the ability that Ramirez got. We sort of watched them and things like that. So we knew back then that we can beat Ramirez and how we can beat him. So yeah, it's he's just telling the truth. Yeah.
Seemed like the respect was there from Shane's side, reciprocated from you.
Yeah, well, I've not got any problems. I've not got any problems with what happened, you know. So it was just time for me to move on, and that's all. That's all. So I've not got anything bad to say, and that's it. That's what happened. The way the things ended, they would maybe like to have ended a different way. But listen, it is what it is, and obviously, if I was to see him at a show or something, I would let on to him. But would he do the same to me? I don't know. But I can certainly say for myself, I've not got any problems. So. No bitterness or bad feelings for me.
We've spoken about the lightweights moving up. We haven't spoken about you potentially moving up. Now, I'm not going to bore you with would you fight him, because we've already kind of covered that. Manny Pacquiao, though, is somebody who I know that you'd love to fight. Unfortunately, your dog, named after Manny, is no longer with us. R.I.P. Manny. But that's got to be a fight that kind of tickles your fancy if you could potentially nab Pacquiao before he leaves the sport.
Yeah, it would be good to share it would be good to share a ring with my hero and say that I shared the ring with him and stuff, you know. But you know, that would be a great fight. That would be one to tick off, you know. And but you know, even if he still got it and they give me a bit of a doing, it was because well, I got beat up for my hero. But obviously that wouldn't happen. I would obviously go in there to win the fight and stuff. But it would be amazing to go in and share the ring with your hero. Like that would be awesome.
There's talk of him, potentially at least, I mean it sprouts up and goes away, but of him potentially boxing Terence Crawford, who's somebody who I know that you've had a few things to say about recently as a potential opponent. What would you make of that fight if it came off?
I think that's a good fight, you know. It's, you know, I don't know. I think Crawford would probably win it. You know, Crawford is the best fighter on the planet at the minute. So, yeah, I think Crawford would win that fight. But Pacquiao would certainly bring his challenges and you know, problems to Crawford, I think. But you know, you would expect Crawford to come through that. Yeah.
You just named Crawford as kind of the best fighter on the planet. Are those the type of things you become undisputed champion, which is something that we've spoken about since the very first time I interviewed you, becoming kind of Scotland's next undisputed champion after King Kenny Buchanan? Yeah. Are those the type of things that kind of keep you motivated, would keep you in the sport, you know, toppling, in your opinion, the best fighter in the world in Terence Crawford? Yeah,
I think so, you know, because I 100% believe in winning this fight, you know. So after this fight, you know, Terence Crawford seems to be having a bit of trouble with getting opponents, and I would take that fight tomorrow. You know, you know, undisputed versus undisputed. You know, it'd be a great fight. You know, so they're the kind of fights that, you know, are just real legacy cementing fights and leave your name in the history book. So of course you want the fights. You want the big names. I've always been in the sport to challenge myself and fight the best and be the best I can be. So after I win this fight, it's then setting new challenges, and yeah, you want to challenge yourself against the best. Yeah, 100%.
You've always been a big super lightweight, but you would be moving up out of kind of a want to achieve more, not out of necessity.
Yeah, we've been moving up to sort of achieve more goals. You know, setting new goals and things like that. So that's the things I would probably move up for. But I'm not in a rush to move up. You know, it's there's still big fights at 140. There's big fights in abundance there as well, you know. So there's 4 or 5 big fights there, and then also there's massive fights at 147 as well. So the natural progression would probably be to go up and challenge at a new weight and set new goals. That would be the kind of things I would want to do next. Yeah.
You're also now appearing on the pound for pound lists, which is something that we've spoken about for a long time. That has to be kind of the holy grail for a fighter, seeing your name popping up in the pound for pound top 10 list. Yeah,
it is nice. You know me, Rob. I'm not too overly fussed about it all and all that carry on, but it is nice seeing it. You know, when the first time I sort of thought, oh wow, like I'm the pound for pound list, was in sort of lockdown, when you had the first chance to sort of sit back and reflect on how you've done, you know, and then you see your name in at number 9, I think it was, and in the Ring magazine top 10 pound for pound. You're like, fucking hell, that's That's all right. That's me. That's me. It's, you think of the superstars on top 10 pound for pound list. You're like, wow, that's me. I'm doing all right, you know. So yeah, you're kind of proud of it, and it is nice to see, and you know, and it's nice to see people sort of saying I'm well deserving of the spot and that as well. So yeah, it is nice, and a nice little confidence booster. Yeah,
you never know. You become undisputed champion against Jose Ramirez. Maybe they'll bump you up a few spots anyway. So there we go.
Yeah, definitely got to bump me up after winning this fight. They've got to bump me up a couple of fights. They can't have a undisputed champion down at 9 and 10. They've got to bump me up to there. So we'll see how it goes.
We'll put in a word with Tom Gray. I think Tom Gray will see you set right for that. Moving on, let's talk about Mr. McGregor. Lee McGregor coming up fast behind you. It's something that has always been kind of discussed between you two, him following up the slipstream of you and, you know, going on to break your records and what have you.
He's needing to slow down a wee bit, isn't he? He's got to break all my records, the wee fucker. No, I'm super proud of him. He's doing brilliant. British, Commonwealth and European champion, and what's 10 fights I think he's had now, and now he's going to be pushing on, knocking on the doors to get world titles, you know. So it's he's flying, and that last performance was unbelievable, you know. It's I knew he was going to stop the guy, but not in that fashion. I thought it was maybe 4 or 5 rounds, just sort of wear him down and things like that. But he went out there and just was destructive, you know. He was brilliant. So he really, really impressed me, and yeah, I'm really happy. I'm happy for him. So after I win this fight, it'll be another wee bit of history for the two of us, you know, because I'll have all the world titles. He'll have the British, the Commonwealth, and the European. All the belts in boxing will be in Scotland and in Edinburgh, and out the same gym. So that's another wee bit of history. So that's another wee one I'm going to do. It's up to me now to do it, and yeah, we'll get some good pictures for the gram for that. After we do that, yeah, it'll be good.
Gotta get a big fight in Edinburgh. One of the things that I spoke to Lee about after his fight against Karim Murphy was, yes, it was fantastic, but you always associate, not only Lee, of course, but with yourself, you know, the flower of Scotland, big packed out hydro for you, and, you know, we missed that, and we've missed that as a sport, but surely that's got to be on the agenda. All being well, you come through, big show back in Edinburgh. Yeah,
I want a massive fight either at Easter Road or the Edinburgh Castle, you know. We've started getting a little bit of a feedback from Edinburgh Castle now, after
you've been talking about it for a number of years.
Talking about it, and, you know, obviously I never heard anything from them, so after a little bit of stick, giving them stick, I've heard something back, and there seem to be we're getting somewhere with it now. So I want a massive fight in my home city, you know, and either Easter Road or the Edinburgh Castle. But I think the Edinburgh Castle would just be unbelievable. You've seen pictures of it at night when it's all lit up in blue and the Esplanade and a ring in the middle, man. It would just be, that's iconic, you know. That's a once in a lifetime sort of event, and, you know, it'd be a real shame if it didn't happen.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's talk about your ex-stablemate Carl Frampton. I watched, as many did, you punditry. Well done, by the way. Let me just slip that in there. I thought you were very good on the night. But yeah, not the result that yourself and many others were looking for. Carl Frampton, unfortunately, being stopped by Jamel Herring out in Dubai. Yeah, just your thoughts on first of all, a wonderful career that Carl Frampton has had, but admittedly not ending in the ideal circumstances.
Yeah, it was hard for me to watch and sort of do the sort of talking bit after the fight. I was really gutted for him. You know, I just felt so bad for him. You know, because I knew that. I kind of knew that if he won that fight, he would retire anyway, because he's not got anything else to achieve. He's 3-weight world champion, arguably, well, in my book, would be Ireland's best fighter ever, you know, in terms of achievements and the things he's done and the career he's had. Fighters can only dream of, you know. The following he's had as well has just been, it's just the following he's got is like a god in Ireland, you know. He's just he's brilliant, a real good person as well, real good family person, good guy, good laugh. So it was hard for me to watch, but he definitely will retire now, and he'll get to make time up, make up for lost time with, you know, precious time with his kids, you know. Missing them sort of growing up, really, you know, for the last 4 or 5 years, and he can now make up for lost time and go and spend time with Christine and the kids. And I wish him nothing but all the best. You know, I've messaged him a couple of times and he messaged me back. But yeah, just wish him nothing but the best, and I'm pretty sure I'll see him sort of soon.
Similar in the same vein of you kind of being there for Lee McGregor. Once upon a time, Carl Frampton was there for you, when you were first starting out. You turned over on his undercard. Yeah. How important was it to have somebody like Carl Frampton there at the start of your career?
I think it was brilliant, you know, especially for motivation and inspiration, you know, because I was so close to it, you know, to these big fights, being involved, sort of being in Carl's camp, you know, and being so close to him in these big massive fights, and then going to Vegas with him and New York with him, and being involved and being so close to it, it gave me so much inspiration and motivation, you know, and just watching and learning from him how he dealt with like the pressure, the expectation, the fans, the media, you know, how he ate, how he sort of done all his nutrition and things like that, and how he trained and things like that. You know, I just watched and learned of him, and also spent a lot of time with him, speaking to him and that as well, and asking him wee bits and bobs, and he was always giving me sound advice, and you know, always there for me as well. You know, whenever I wanted to ask him anything, he would tell me, and so he was a real good friend and a good, obviously teammate, but a real good friend as well. So it was really, really beneficial for me in the first part of my career, having him to sort of look up to and to be a real inspiration and what I wanted to be and achieve. So yeah, it was brilliant.
Final question from me before I let you go to the gym. We mentioned his name, the great Ken Buchanan. I know that you've taken a trip in the past to show off your spoils of war, so to speak. Yeah. All being well, you come through, you become undisputed champion. What's it going to mean to you to be able to bring the undisputed crown again back to Ken Buchanan?
It's massive for me. It's huge. You know, it'd be really good to bring all the belts back to him and see him. He's not keeping too well now, which is bad. But it'd be really nice for me to come back and bring the belts back to him and say, look, I've done it just like you, champ. And you know, he would say, I don't know if he'll remember, but you know, he used to say, you're going to be a world champion, and you've proved me right. So I would just say, look, I've proved you right, and it'd be really nice for me to say that. And hopefully I can see him. You never know if I'm going to be able to get to see him because of all these restrictions and stuff, but it'd be really nice to see him. The last time I spoke to him was just after the Progetti fight, and he come down to my mum and dad's house, and I spent a good hour in the house and come down for a cup of tea and something to eat, and he says, well done son, you proved me right, and he gave me his Buchanan tartan scarf and that, so I've got that sort of round the trophy and things like that. So yeah, that's another wee extra motivational thing for me to win this fight, you know, to create history.
You can see, like, in your face there, it just lights up when you talk about it. It really does. It really does mean a lot to you to be able to do that. Yeah,
it's huge. This not only just for myself, but for Scotland and Edinburgh, and you know, and just to go back to him and say, look, I'm just like you, champ, a real living legend of the sport, and let him see the belts. You know, it would be amazing. It'd be awesome.
Okay, well, before I let you go, I mentioned there's not going to be, unfortunately, the capacity to fly over an awful lot of your, let's call them what they are, mental Scottish fan base. Your fights at the Hydro have given us some great nights. Flower of Scotland at a Josh Taylor fight is certainly one of the things that I've always appreciated and looked forward to in boxing. But there's going to be a lot of people watching this interview who would have been there, come hell or high water, and would have travelled and done whatever they needed to do to go and watch you win the undisputed crown. What message have you got for them ahead of May the 22nd? Yeah,
well, obviously it's a bit of a gutter. You know, it's landed this, been lucky and unfortunate enough to land a fight of this magnitude in Vegas in the Mecca of boxing, and not being able to have fans go, it's a bit of a kick up the stones, but you know, I've just got to get on with it, you know, and just want to say thank you to everybody too that have supported me up until now, you know, whether it be at home or away, you know, I've had fans come and travel and support, and you know, the support has just been amazing, not only in Scotland but all over the country, and people from abroad that are living abroad. I'm getting messages from all sorts of people, and it's just a little bit of a shame that I can't repay them to watch me in Vegas and create history. But I just want to say thank you for all the continued support, and it would be so much more special if they were there, you know, but it isn't. So I promise to bring the belts back, and we'll have a big homecoming fight, and we'll have a big party after it. And I just want to say thank you so much for all the support. They make the nights and the experiences so much more memorable. So thank you for the continued support, and we'll go and get the belts.
You maybe do the Crawford fight in Vegas.
Possibly, yeah. Go back and spank Crawford, yeah.
Okay, well, Joshua Taylor, always a real pleasure. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Get off my mic, lead. Thanks very much for having me down today. Nice to see you looking so well. Gutted that I'm not going to go and see you box Jose Ramirez in May, but what will be will be. All being well, I will catch up with you on the way back.
Nice one, Rob. Cheers, mate.
Yeah.